We both stood up and cheered like some famous football team had made a goal. Yes, he's infected. But
there's something wrong with you and your family. I'm just going to say, I did not cheer at all.
I shall create a virus so that I can become famous with the cure.
And I have successfully derailed this conversation, so You're welcome. Welcome to The Right Advice. I'm Randy.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Lucy.
And we're here to talk about episode 5 of The Last of Us on HBO Max.
But before that, we want you to hit the subscribe button.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Please.
Right now, we'll wait.
Okay, waiting's done.
Okay, we waited.
First reactions. Randy.
Oh, I loved it. I feel that this was the best episode in the series so far.
Mm-hmm. How about you?
It was really, really good. I really liked it.
Yes. I watched this with my brother and we cheered several times. We were very excited about this episode. So, hooray!
Yay!
"11 days before our present story with Joel and Ellie, the civilian resistance has overthrown Fedra and joyfully tortures and kills the soldiers. Hiding from the chaos are Henry and his younger, deaf brother Sam. They run from building to building to get away from the resistant civilians hunting down collaborators. In a detention cell, several captured collaborators sit on the floor as Kathleen interrogates them. She gently tells them that they won't be killed if they tell her where Henry is. They will get a fair trial, where they will be found guilty, but they will only have to serve some time. One of them reveals that Edelstein is meeting up with Henry and has a place to hole up in the open city, but this is all he knows. Kathleen goes into the next room to announce the waiting armed men that Henry is still in the city, and they should go door to door until they find him. Perry disagrees that they should go now, as they can wait them out. But when Kathleen asks him if finding Henry is his 7th priority, Perry says no. Then Kathleen tells the others that they can kill the collaborators left in the cell. And so they do.
All right. This is an intense first scene. What do you guys think?
I liked it. It was good. We definitely get to see how Fedra gets ousted by the people they were oppressing. And of course, these people...
Pretty gnarly stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, now they oppress everyone who is underneath them. So, kind of like the Who said, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. That's what we're getting here. And you guys are going like, who? Yeah, okay, so it's for us old people, the Who.
This is a Who joke? You're making a The Who joke?
Well, the song, it's their best song, in my opinion.
Okay, I'll give you that. How about you, Lucy?
It was good to see more of Kathleen's character, because I know in the last episode she wasn't that strong of a character and we didn't really like her all that much. So it was nice to see, well, not nice. She's obviously not a nice person. We don't like her. But it was good to see that she is like more capable of being in power than it seemed in the last episode.
Yeah, I have to agree. They definitely went up a notch with her. And none of this part was in the game at all, so you never saw it inside.
So yeah, like Henry and Sam, and then obviously Joel and Ellie were the only people we knew in the city.
Okay.
So all of these other characters are brand new.
Nice. And so did you really like it?
Yeah, it was very good. I liked it.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to go on. So several of our viewers have commented that the character and especially the actress are very, the character is more interesting in the game and the actress is really talented. And I definitely saw that. So she still sounds mousy, but oh man, I hate her. I mean, because she is so vile and wicked. And that's a good kind of hate. That's the kind of hate you want for a villain, is that you're, please kill this person.
They wrote her well.
They wrote her well, and she is acting well. So I'm doing a complete about face with that actress, and I really enjoyed her performances, and now I get the character, and I take back all the stuff I said in the last episode.
So I don't actually take back the stuff that I said in the last episode. Big surprise. So here's what I was looking at. So I actually did watch the podcast thing at the end of the episode with the creators, because I was wondering what were they going for with Kathleen. And they said that, like they wanted this more soft-spoken person. And they said specifically that they liked the idea that society had evolved at this point to a place where they would listen to somebody who doesn't necessarily have the demeanor of a leader, but who is a good leader. And so my problem with this was that, first of all, she was not a good leader because she made two very bad choices in the previous episode. We saw her basically telling Perry to cover up that the bad guys were going to come up through the floor. And then we also saw her killing one of their only doctors, essentially out of spite. She was angry that she didn't get what she wanted from him and killed him. So these are not good leadership qualities, to make decisions like this out of anger and revenge. And it certainly wouldn't last. So I'll get into another note about her being the leader, like how did she come about being the leader later on. But the other note I wanted to make about this was that this is not an evolved society. This is a devolved society, because it's kill or be killed. I mean, what these people are doing to the Fedra guys, and now people are going to look at me and say, oh, but they were raping and torturing everybody for 20 years. That does not matter. What matters is what you see in the present in your story. And even if, let's say we were talking about the ultimate villain, Nazis, okay? Let's say we've overthrown the Nazis. Now we have all these Nazi soldiers. And what are we going to do? We're going to torture them and laugh at them, beat them to death, just in horrific ways. We would not look at the people who do that and say, oh, it's okay, they're fine. They did something just as bad by torturing them. Maybe these people deserved it, but it's sort of like saying, I didn't do it, he did it first. So I did not buy that this is an evolved society. This is a devolved society. People are acting on passion, not reason. So I did not see any reason why people would default to this woman. And I did, I think I mentioned it in the video last time, that I thought maybe it was because of her brother that she, they rallied around her being the closest person to her brother. But anyway, we're going to get more into my ideas about that. But I think that that's something that the writers should have considered, that this is certainly not an evolved society. And I don't think that people would say, I know that we're out there in a war zone fighting for our lives, but we should listen to the one who's very, very soft-spoken. I just don't see that happening unless she's a genius. So anyway.
Still in the past, Henry and Sam are led into a hidden attic by Edelstein, the doctor we know that Kathleen will eventually kill. Edelstein tells Henry that no one knows about this hideout, that there is water and toilets in the apartments downstairs, but there is no food except the 11 days' worth of canned food and jerky that Henry has brought. Edelstein tells Henry that Sam is scared because Henry, is scared. After Edelstein is gone, Henry, through sign language, assures Sam that he is not scared and that the only downside to their situation is that the place is ugly. Then he pulls out a large bag of crayons to Sam's delight, and the two start at drawing on the walls of the attic.
All right, so this is a great scene, and I'm probably going to say that for a lot of the scenes in this episode. It was really good. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I want to latch on first is that Sam, the younger brother, is deaf and also mute, which is an interesting on a writing perspective. If you want to draw in audiences and gain audience sympathy, and especially if you're writing for young children, and I know that this show is not for young children, you want to include a character that doesn't speak. Now, a lot of times, what is The Last Airbender? They have a big... Appa. Yeah, they have Appa, right?
And Momo.
So they don't speak, and they're kind of lovable and cute, right? And you definitely pull that. So that's not the case here, because this is a show for adults. Mm-hmm. However, by having a deaf character, we instantly garner sympathy for that character. Maybe because they don't have a chance to open their mouth and take away all pretense that they're maybe a nice person. Kind of like Ellie has done early on. Early Ellie opened her mouth. If she had just been quiet, we would have liked her a lot better at the beginning. I'm liking her now. Yeah, so I just want to comment on that. And then the other thing that I noticed and just really loved is that Henry distracts Sam. He's like, this place is, I'm going to read this place is ugly. And he gives Sam all sorts of stuff to decorate, in which we saw last episode when Joel and Ellie come in, right? They're looking around and there's all these pictures of, the brothers as Superman and superheroes. And I mean, that's great. So
Kathleen. It was Kathleen and
Yeah,
Dada.
Kathleen and Perry. That's okay. He didn't.
People came in and saw these.
We saw it.
So it's apparently very important which people came in and saw them.
I was just saying, I mean, somebody in the comments was probably going to be like, well, actually, it's Kathleen.
Okay, so you don't have to come in the comments.
They get
Lucy
it.
has already corrected me. Thank you. The point being is the brother is being that protector. And he is protecting Sam's emotions, right? So Sam is now too busy decorating on something that brings him joy to be worried about their situation. I'm sure Henry feels it's likely that the doctor is dead and not coming back.
Yeah.
But rather than let Sam dwell on that, he gives Sam something to do. So here we go. We see that role of protector, and I thought it was very touching. And then also... is it this scene or is it a later? I think it's a later scene, so I'm going to hold off on that. But there's something that goes along with the same element happens later in the episode.
For me, I really had no complaints about this whole segment here. I thought it was great. It was quick paced, not too draggy. We got to see a bond that these two have. I mean, you can assume a lot, just that there's the protector and the protected, but it was nice to see it played out. Like, how does he deal with Sam's, being scared? He's like, I'm not scared. And, like you said, here's some toys. Like, don't you love this? And I like that. I thought that was really good. No complaints.
I thought it was really cute to see the brothers together. Like I said in the last episode, I really like the brothers. I think they're really good characters.
So these are definitely, I think I heard in the podcast they weren't deaf in the game.
In the game he was hearing, and he did not have, I mean, you're gonna watch it, so it's spoilers for the episode anyway. He didn't have leukemia either.
Oh, okay. Did he have something else? Well,
No,
maybe
he
we should get to that.
Perfectly healthy in the game.
Okay.
Okay, but here I feel
as healthy as you can be in a zombie apocalypse.
I feel that the writers of the show have added stuff
That's good.
because this is a new medium, right? And what they've added, from what I understand that they've added, these are good additions, and it helps us understand these characters, and we get some moral dilemma later in the story, later in the episode because of these. So I applaud them for making this change.
Yeah, actually, in the game, the entire backstory for the brothers is different. So in the game, the brothers come in with like a search party to look for supplies into the city, and then they get attacked by raiders, and
okay.
So they're not like enemies of the raiders, or they're just prey for the raiders.
Okay.
And
they just want to kill them. What? Oh, because they came into this territory, or
well, just because raiders are in general bad people, often cannibals.
Okay.
Well, not often. Sometimes. They're sometimes cannibals.
So they sort of humanized them in this, where they've said that they were actually civilians who, were tortured and stuff for 20 years and finally had enough. I think that was a good move. And I think it was also a good move to have them not take over and be like perfect. I think it was good that they're like, all right, revenge time. Seemed realistic to me.
Worked so well for them.
Yeah.
That's right. New boss, the same as the old boss.
New bosses. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
10 days later, the Resistance is still furiously searching the surrounding buildings. Down to their last can of food, and no sign of Edelstein in over a day, Henry tells Sam that Edelstein is not coming back, and that he is sorry, but they need to leave. Sam is sad, and afraid that Edelstein is probably dead. To encourage and cheer Sam up, Henry paints a superhero mask over Sam's eyes, and they set out. Just as they are about to exit the building, Henry hears a car crash and gunshots. Through the window, he sees Joel kill the two men who ambushed him and Ellie when they first arrived in the city. Now Henry has a new plan.
All right, so Henry and Sam are getting ready to go out. They're going to be in danger, a lot of danger. And Henry once again shows his protector role, and he paints a mask on Sam's face, which is what we see at the very end of last episode, right? So here he is as the protector. Make him feel like Superman or a superhero, so that they're going to go out,
brave.
make him feel brave. I mean, that is such a nice touch. That scene kind of made me all misty-eyed because of the thoughtfulness of his brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what that means. And here's another case. I mean, in some other shows we've seen, we get so much tell and not show. Mm-hmm. Here we go. This is all show, right? We get that. We don't need dumb. We can understand what he's doing and the significance of it, why he's doing it, and what the results are going to be. We're able to see that, and it's all the richer for the viewer because they do show us instead of tell us.
That night, Henry and Sam, who have followed Joel and Ellie to the 33rd floor of the skyscraper, creep up on them. Both armed with pistols, Henry and Sam wake Ellie and Joel. After a tense moment of deciding not to kill each other, Henry tells Joel that he wants to help them, and that he is probably the most wanted man in all of Kansas City, but that he is guessing Joel is the second most wanted. Joel and Ellie share some of their food with Henry and Sam, and Henry tells Joel that he knows a way out of the city. The next morning, Henry tells Joel that Fedra has been raping and killing people for 20 years, and that the Resistance had finally turned the tables, but now Kathleen, leader of the Resistance, rules the city in Fedra's place. He introduces himself as one of the collaborators with Fedra. Joel says he doesn't work with rats, but Henry informs Joel that he lives in this city and can show them the way out if Joel will protect them on their journey. Joel seems to understand that he needs Henry and asks what the route is before agreeing to anything. Henry shows that the Resistance has lookouts and guards posted along the large perimeter within which they are trapped. But there are maintenance tunnels they can use to get past the perimeter into the residential area, and from there, there's a pedestrian bridge that will get them across the river to safety. Henry informs Joel and Ellie that Fedra drove all of the infected underground into the tunnels, but that one Fedra officer revealed to Henry that there was one tunnel system that had been cleared 3 years prior. There is no guarantee that there aren't any infected down there, and this is why Henry, who has never killed anyone before, feels that he needs Joel, who can protect them. Joel is wary, but agrees that this is their best chance of escaping the city.
All right, another strong scene, and I'm going to look back to when we are with Frank and Bill. And we have that scene where Tess and Joel are sitting and having a meal with Bill and Frank, right? And we have two protectors, right? And they are butting heads. And so we have the scene, and Henry and Joel are butting heads just like Joel and Bill were in the previous episode, right? So here we are, we're getting that parallel mirroring to reinforce the theme of the protector, right? The role, the nobility of this person, regardless of how rough their demeanor, right? And how outside and outwardly they may look like maybe a bad guy, right? But really they're a protector. And that's the important thing, that inside their role is to protect others. Maybe one specific person, maybe more than one person. But yeah, I mean, so I love that they're reinforcing this theme. And we're going to see this over and over again throughout this episode. We've already seen it many times in the series. And I am expecting that we will see this in many of the episodes going forward. So they obviously have picked on this theme. They really want to reinforce it. I'm not sure. I expect that at the end of the season, we're going to see a payoff that has to do with this theme. So watch for that down the road.
Yeah, I gotta agree. That was it's this to be the. How many times have we seen this happen? Yeah, we've seen this parallel mirroring so many times now. It better mean something. And I mean, just as an editor, I would say it has to pay off at this point. Especially
Right.
when you get to the end of this episode, it better mean something to be so obviously thematic of the main point that they're trying to make. How about you?
I love how immediate the connection was between Ellie and Sam.
Yeah.
And it was the same in the game, although a little bit different because they were able to speak to communicate. So in this, they had to bond more over, like, obviously they were still able to talk, but the first bonding thing you notice with them is the joke book that she was reading from to Joel. And I loved that. I don't know. I really liked how immediate their connection was, and I liked how the writers shifted it to accompany Sam being deaf.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a good way to make him more sympathetic and us more interested in watching them. But, you know, I didn't even think about this, but it would maybe be something that also plays into Ellie's sympathy a little bit more too. If this is just another kid, it's somebody she can bond with, but she almost takes sort of oh, here, let's look at my joke book together. Hey, she's taking the leadership position in their little interactions. So
And we see moving forward scenes where Ellie plays the role as the protector over Sam. She'll put her arm around him. Lucy pointed that out to me, right? So we see that here again, more parallel mirroring of the protector role. But also what I like, and I'm not usually one to, assign maybe some of the higher meaning stuff to it. I generally stick to why things work as writing and why things don't work at writing. But it is good to see Ellie and Sam getting together. And what it reminds me of is children, because children, right? You go see your friends and they've got children and you've got children and the kids just, boom, they start playing generally.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is to harken back to innocence. And maybe that's what they're meant to represent, innocence, right? Because we get that. They immediately bond with one another. They play. They have completely different backgrounds. And yet they can put that aside like the adults cannot. And they can just get along. So I'm wondering if that is intentional for them to do that. I sure hope it is, because I think we could really get some good rewards throughout the series if that's a second thing. So we've got one element of the protectors, and then we get another element of innocence and the loss of innocence because of what's happened.
Yeah.
So,
and we kind of saw that in the last episode with Ellie shooting the guy and then admitting that she had done this sort of thing before.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that they want us to notice at this point. So
absolutely.
The group manages to get down into the tunnels. They proceed cautiously until they come across an undisturbed but not too long ago abandoned children's playroom, and they decide to rest there until it's dark outside. While Ellie and Sam bond over a comic book from a series that they both love and play soccer together, Joel tells Henry that if he collaborated with Fedra to protect Sam, then he is sorry for calling Henry a rat. That it seems cruel to send a whole army after him for that. Henry reveals that Sam had gotten sick with leukemia, that Fedra had the medicine for this, but only a small amount, and wanted something very valuable in return. For that, Henry handed over a particular man, the great, never afraid, never selfish, always forgiving leader of the resistance, who was also Kathleen's brother. Henry says he knows he did a bad thing, but that he also recognizes that Joel must have been someone's father, and that he must understand.
Another great segment. We get Ellie and Sam playing together, and we see that innocence. And pacing can be so important. And when you're writing a story, if you're writing a comedy, it's important to have some dramatic scenes, maybe some sad scenes. When you're writing drama, it's important to have some light scenes, right? Otherwise, you just get bombarded with one emotion.
And you become numb to it.
And you become numb to it. So it's very important pacing-wise, and we see that. We see lots of interplay, and this is probably the best example of it in this episode, is them playing. There's all sorts of stuff for kids to play with, because it looks like maybe it was a grade school or a kindergarten or a nursery after the apocalypse, and they're playing, and so that's good. We get a breather. And then we have this discussion, and I'm not going to touch too much on it right here. You ladies can. But what I will say is I think that this is part one of a discussion that really is the centerpiece of what this episode is about. And then I'll turn it over to you ladies.
Cool. You got anything?
I do. So it's not, it's a little thing that I like from the game, which is just kind of a collector thing. Not really, but in the small part where you are with Sam and Henry, there is, you can follow the life of this character called Ish through notes that he has left around the environment.
Ish. Interesting
yes.
name.
And you actually see a drawing made by one of the children in there that has Ish, and I couldn't read the other name on it.
Okay.
But it zooms in on a picture or a drawing made by a kid that said Ish and somebody else, and then it was labeled Our Protectors.
Oh, so it is not only an Easter egg, but it is another parallel mirroring through the use of the Easter egg. That's brilliant.
Nice.
Yeah, so you get this, and I don't even think when I played through it, I found all of the Ish notes. But basically, when the outbreak first happened, he went out on his boat and took as many supplies as he could, and he lasted out on like the ocean as long as he could, and then he came back, And then he found that underground bunker and he holed down there because he was like, hey, this is a great place to hole up. I'm safe in here. And then he slowly started taking in more people to protect. So it became just a little community.
Was it like families or individuals?
I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
So the reason...
This is a big group then.
I'm not sure, because when you first go down there, they had been invaded by infected. So everybody in there was dead. And you get this really sad room where there is a small pile that has like a cloth over it, and then a dead person sitting next to it. And they have a note that basically says, I'm trapped in here with the kids, and there are infected outside, and I don't know what I'm going to do. So then it's revealed that that person, I don't remember who it was. I think it might have been the other protector that was mentioned on the paper. And so he ended up killing the kids to spare them from...
So I did not know that. Lucy didn't tell me that when we were watching. However, hearing that, now I wish that they had included that note for reasons that we will talk about later. But I think that is something that they've missed out on. That's a big... that's a big error on their part.
Yeah. And then I think Ish is one of the people that got out. But after you get out of that underground bunker, I don't think you get any more notes from Ish, if I'm correct on that. But if you know in the comments, put it down there and I would love to know.
Are we good? Okay. Oh, did I not do mine?
You did not.
Oh. I don't really have any complaints about this section, at least as far as like overarching like what they did. But I had a few little editor notes that I wanted to mention. The first was, I didn't really like that Henry was saying why, your dad is so pessimistic. This is a guy who has been through so much, and I just didn't see him his attitude up until now has not been especially optimistic. So I was a little bit put off by that, not too badly, but just a little bit. And mainly I think it's because he just behaved rather stupidly, just walking into a tunnel and going, see, it's all great, good plan. And Joel's like, will you shut up? We've been in here 2 seconds. You don't know anything about this tunnel. So I was sitting there going like, you idiot. I thought you were supposed to be a protector. Like, you're supposed to be smarter than this. But, I guess it can be excused with this has been a sheltered community because Fedra got rid of the infected. However, Henry seems old enough to have been alive when the infected were running rampant. So I don't believe that he would have been taking it so lightly that, oh yeah, there's definitely no infected down here, even though we've only been here 2 seconds. I mean, I know that it was swarming with them before, but I'm sure that the Fedra guy I was talking to was telling the truth. So I just didn't believe that instant, stupid action and then followed by like, gosh, your dad is such a pessimist. It felt a little juvenile. And I would like to have seen Henry continue to be this protector who's been, he's doing the last of his energies to take care of his little brother. So anyway, I don't get too much into that. I liked that this is the first time that we see both Ellie and Joel together declaring he's not my dad or I'm not her dad. I thought that was pretty good.
It's not my dad.
It was just a really cute scene with having Joel and Ellie kind of realizing I think they at some point kind of realized this is a pairing. Like, they look like us, like we're a pair, I'm the protector, whatever. But anyway, oh yeah, before I forget, want to make a note. I thought that Joel would end up being the protector for all 4 of them in our last video. I think that was my prediction for the next episode. I don't remember what my prediction was, but I think it was that. And I was like, haha. So I felt good about that. But I still think that Henry would have been more of a protector type. Even though not killing anybody, just he would do anything for his brother. So anyway, now I'm thinking out loud at this point.
Kathleen is alone in a long-abandoned children's bedroom. Perry finds her there and reports that neither Henry nor the man who killed their other men has been found. Kathleen reveals that this is the room she grew up in. When she and her brother Michael were little and she was afraid of thunderstorms, Michael would tell her that this room was a great big wooden box that nothing could get inside of. Kathleen says that Michael did this sort of thing for her all the time. She says that she knows Michael would be horrified by the things she has done, that Michael even told her to forgive Henry in her last meeting with her brother before he died. But she asks what forgiveness got Michael in the end. Where was the justice and what was the point of that? Perry assures Kathleen that Michael was a great man who they all loved, but that he didn't change anything. She did, and he tells her, "We're with you." Kathleen is pleased.
As they're kind of getting ready to leave, I believe, part 2 of that conversation, right, happens between Joel and Henry. And really what it boils down to is this is a discussion. Henry admits that he did kill someone, and he killed someone that was a good man. He knew he was a good man and was a close friend. He was a mentor for Henry. So Henry has killed his own mentor in order to save Sam, right? And so it is a beautiful discussion of what makes you a bad guy. Because that's what he says. That makes me a bad guy, right? I killed someone that I admired. And for me, this is real science fiction stuff, right? Science fiction is about making us think. And so here we have this situation where things are very tough. And, do I let Sam die or do I kill my mentor so that Sam can live, right? So this is tough. This is beautiful in science fiction. That's the purpose of science fiction as far as I'm concerned. It entertains and it gives us questions in our minds and we can talk about that. Okay, so then this segues into the next scene with Kathleen. So we have Kathleen. She's in a room. We hear the story about her brother, which is who Henry has killed, right? And she openly admits that her brother, David, is it David?
I think it's Michael.
Michael, her brother would have told her, move on, forgive this guy, even though he killed me.
Don't look.
Just move on, right? I mean, it's super touching. And then while I'm watching this, I'm like, isn't that the same conversation, though? Does this make me a monster? But in what we're seeing, here we get mirroring, right? In the one case, we don't think Henry is a monster I don't know, maybe we do. That leads up it goes back to that discussion we're talking about. But I think a lot of people he's not a monster because of that. And then we look at Kathleen, and in so many ways, that is the same situation, but we do think that she's a monster. She's obviously not the same. And that kind of, am I a monster because I did that thing evolves, and we've got a definite yes on this one. So I found that really brilliant writing to move directly from one scene into another, and that keeping them so close together that we should still have that first thought in our mind as we go into the scene, and we can reconsider the new scene, same question.
Yeah, and this whole tying that story with Henry and Sam's story continues throughout the rest of the episode, which is a note I'll be making later on. But yeah, it is really, really good. Just really brilliant.
Yeah.
So anything you've got for this part?
I don't have anything to say.
There was no scene like this then in the game at all?
Yeah, these characters didn't exist, so they weren't replacing characters or anything. We just had the raiders that didn't have any actual voice lines except for the NPC I'll kill you for that kind of thing. So
Okay.
yeah.
So that was actually in there, the I'll kill you for what you did. You're gonna, what did he say? He said something. It was,
I know last
episode.
episode.
Yeah, it was the last episode.
One of the the raiders had the NPC line, and I heard that, and I was
you're
like,
gonna die what you
"Whoa!"
did for this person or something.
or yeah, but I heard that, and I was like, oh, that's one of their lines. I mean, they have
Still honoring the game.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, wow.
All right. For this part, for me, I actually had quite a few notes. And I'm going to this is the second part of what I was talking about with Kathleen earlier in the cell where she was interrogating everybody. So I can't remember the name of the guy in the comments who made this comment, but I'm going to put your name right there. He said that this character
Right
may
there?
be, it'll be
Or here.
right in Lucy's lap.
Okay.
Lucy's lap. There you go.
Just
I'll do my best again.
Just to make sure.
So this was, this is something that I could see. Now, this character, Kathleen, when she was sitting with those prisoners in the cell, exuded the energy of Professor Umbridge from Harry Potter, Dolores Umbridge. She was the one who wore pink and was just so sweet, but everything that she was saying was like a little needle she was jamming into your forehead over and over again. She was really good at that. And I felt like I was getting Umbridge vibes there too. And I kind of wondered, this was in our discussion in the comments, if that's where they were going. And the problem I have with that portrayal of this kind of character is that it only works when you are the person in power and everyone that you are dominating over is in a position of no power. And so it worked in the cell, right? But as soon as she comes out and she's talking to the guards, and as soon as she's talking to Perry right here, and anytime she's out with those guys, I'm going, these are not guys who are not in positions of power. They have, if not an equal amount, more power than she does. So it's not a believable situation that this kind of demeanor will last long. It will not last long. And honestly, I thought that Perry was going to snap at her earlier when she goes like, this is not my 7th priority. Is it yours? And like, it seemed like he like looked like, I don't know how to react to that, and then kind of ashamed. And I was like, okay, that would not last long in a room full of tough guys. And like I said, this is not an evolved society. But so this scene here, in this scene in particularly, I was excited. My brother and I were watching this, and I go, oh, they're going to do it. She's going to have a brilliant plan. And that's what it was. It was the brilliant plan that got her. And that didn't happen. Perry, at the very end of this conversation, says, he says, you know, your brother was a great man and we all loved him, but nothing changed. He didn't make anything change. You did. And here's the problem that I have with that. We don't know how she did that.
No, we do. Beginning, kill everybody that we don't like.
But how? They had no power. They had no guns. So to me, this situation my brother and I were like waiting for that moment where he says, you came up with the brilliant plan. Not that we have to hear it, but we need to know that is why they were following her. And my brother actually had a really good prediction before this scene. It was when they were in the cell. He says, oh my gosh, I'll bet you this. I'll bet you that the army guys follow Perry, and Perry is in love with Kathleen. And that's what, so he follows her and the guys follow him. And that's why it seems like she's really in charge, because he listens to her and everybody's going to do what Perry does. So that to me was a very believable scenario right there. And then the whole thing with her having a brilliant plan, he does not say that she had a brilliant plan, just that her brother didn't make anything happen. She did. And I felt like that's not enough. Now, I need something to tell me why this incompetent woman who makes terrible decisions and does not have the demeanor of a leader, does not raise up the troops in passion, how is it that she's still the leader 12 days after the revolution has been won? Because it's almost 2 weeks. By now, some of the fury has gone out, and now they need to think about, okay, how do we function as a society? But she's still making them chase after these guys. There should have been guys who were like, why are we still chasing this Henry dude? And we didn't see any of them getting upset, like, you know, when she comes out and tells them that you can kill them all, they kind of go like, yes, ma'am. And then they go in there and do it. They're not like, you know, hell yeah, we're going to, kill them. We don't see that they're still fired up. So they should have done a little bit more with that there to make it believable that these are people who are out of control in their emotion and they just want to go. But then again, if they were out of control in their emotion, a devolved society as this would be, she still wouldn't be the leader 12 days later, because somebody who's more upset that they're not doing what they want is going to dethrone her. So anyway, I thought that they should change that. And the way you could fix it is say that you had a brilliant plan. So Perry could go, your brother didn't change anything, but you're the one who came up with that brilliant plan. Like, and that's all you got to say. You don't have to tell anybody what it is, because then this is a believable reason for why people would follow her, even though she's not leadership material. And it's also a believable reason for why she's a bad leader afterwards. She had one good idea and it worked and people were willing to follow her then, but then that doesn't mean she's a good leader afterwards, because she's clearly not. She's a terrible leader. So anyway, that was what I would have told the writers they should try to fix. And it would have been so easy. Just that one line would have solved a lot of the problems that I had with this whole setup here. It would have literally solved the whole problem. So anyway, that was what I had to say about Kathleen and this thing. It also might have played into her doubt. because she's sitting there, I don't know if she's doubting, but she's like, we're not doing a very good job finding them, are we? Right? Not the first thing that she says to Perry when he walks in the room is, we still don't have the guys who killed Brian. We still don't have Henry. We're not doing a very good job looking for them. Yeah, 12 days.
I took that as a passive-aggressive comment that's really pointing out that Perry and his troops are not doing a good job.
Oh, I didn't pick that up at all. Not that I picked up that she was being like she's sitting there going, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible leader. Just that she's disappointed that they haven't found them yet. And not necessarily like it's your fault, but like, we're not, like, how are we not doing this? How is it that we're not functioning as a functioning army? Like, I don't understand. But yeah, I could see it being the other way. I guess I would have liked to have seen Perry go, like, I'm doing everything that you're telling me to do, or, like, just have that expression on his face. I think that might be why I thought this was the moment that he would maybe confront her and like, maybe it's time to stop this hunt or whatever. But he's like still on board. So
so this episode, I feel that the actress redeemed herself. I think she did a marvelous role. I think she did exactly what the directors wanted her to do.
Oh yeah, I do too.
And I do feel that this character is a delicious villain. I mean, you want to hate her. I mean, I hate her. And so that's a good job. But right, I'm not seeing the you're a great leader aspect. And so that is kind of a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the intention of the writers to make her like that. They literally said in the podcast, we wanted it to be that people would follow the person with the best ideas. But we haven't seen any good ideas. We haven't even been told that she had a good idea before. So they should show that, not just say she's great, but then everything we see that she does is terrible. And it doesn't reinforce what they say. So, yeah. Anyway. But yeah, I like the actress too. She's good. I really like her in Ever After. It's one of my high school guilty pleasures.
Last episode, I was like, why do I recognize her? And it clicked this episode as I was watching. I was like, oh.
I'm only here for the food, mother. Like, oh, she's so good. But anyway. You don't know that one?
Why would I?
What else? She's also been in one with Elijah Wood.
Okay. Let me just ask all of you out there. Do you see me watching, what is
Ever
it?
After.
Ever After. Do you think that's something I'm like, oh my gosh,
No.
I can't wait till it comes out.
I can't wait for reruns at the movie theater.
And yes, I have not ever seen Little Mermaid either. So there's a whole list of movies that I have not ever seen.
If you're wondering where that comment came from in our production meeting before this, I brought up The Little Mermaid. And he goes, I've never seen that. I'm like, what?
That's why I can't comment on the plot or anything. Because I know there's a mermaid and she wants to be on the land and she meets some guy and yeah.
It's just
that's about as much as I know.
You got it down.
There's a lot of singing, and there's a crab that hangs out. And as far as I'm concerned, that crab is probably the most. Is his name Sebastian?
Sebastian.
Okay, you're lucky that I remember that much. He's the most entertaining part of that movie.
Do you know the princess's name? The mermaid?
Maybe.
The main mermaid. What's her name?
Ariel.
Yeah. Okay.
For a second, I thought you were gonna get Sebastian and not Ariel. I was like, how do you get Sebastian?
I think she should have just been named Sebastian's friend, and I would have been good with that.
What kind of father are you? Not exposing your children to The Little Mermaid.
I let them watch it. I just didn't.
We had it on VHS, I think.
Until it had the tracking marks that would never go away. Rewinding
well,
it again
our
and again.
VHS machine got broken by one of my brothers. So.
Oh. Probably because you were watching The Little Mermaid and they were like, Dad doesn't like this.
I think he stuffed a cookie in it.
Yeah, or several cookies.
Oh my gosh.
I think they also broke our Xbox that way.
Yeah. So, yeah, cookies do not go in the electronics. So just in case you didn't know that, don't do that.
Cookies. What a horrible way for a VHS player to die.
They could have been eaten too. Why put them there when you can eat them?
Saving them for later.
There we go.
I think my sister once said she was saving food for later. My mom found like dishes of food under her bed that had never been touched. It was awful.
She was saving them for much later.
She went on to study like microbiology after that and then genetics.
That tracks.
Now she's studying to be a doctor. How to poison everybody and then heal them.
Remind me not to have dinner with your sister.
That's like the revenge plot of villains. Just like, I shall create a virus so that I can become famous with the cure.
Oh, really? Is that what?
I don't know.
Which show is that? It's Villains?
I don't know. No, not like just that seems like a classic.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a
Villains.
show. I was like, dang, somebody
No,
came
not
up with a
that's
good
not
idea.
an actual. I mean, that might be, but I don't know.
I'd watch that one. I'd be on board with their mission, as like,
Okay.
this is the bad guy who's really obsessed with it. Anyway.
And I have successfully derailed this conversation, so
Yep.
you're welcome.
ADHD. I don't know if you have ADHD, but we do.
Don't think so, but I get it. I like to get on whatever train has the most energy and just like go with it, Are we good? All right. Let's try to finish this review thing.
Great.
Joel, Ellie, Henry, and Sam have emerged from the tunnels and are now walking through an abandoned suburb heading for the pedestrian bridge. Suddenly, they are being shot at from the upper window of a boarded-up house. While the others are sheltering behind a car, Joel sneaks around the back and comes upon the elderly man shooting at them. He asks him to put his gun down. The elderly man turns to shoot, but Joel is quicker. Then, over a radio in the room, Joel hears that Kathleen and the Resistance are almost there. Joel shouts down to Ellie and the others to run, but it's too late. The Resistance has arrived, a huge truck pushing cars out of the road as it chases down Ellie, Henry, and Sam. They run for their lives. Ellie shoots at the truck to no effect. Joel, from the upper story window with the old man's rifle, takes out the driver of the truck, which veers and crashes into a building and explodes. Ellie, Henry, and Sam are hiding as Joel reloads. Kathleen coaxes Henry out, telling him that it's a dead end. Henry says he will come out if they let the kids go, but Kathleen says they won't be doing that. Henry pleads with her to understand, but she says she knows why Henry did what he did, and asks if he ever thought that Sam was supposed to die, that kids die all the time. She asks if he thinks that the whole world revolves around Sam, or that Sam is worth everything. Henry comes out to hand himself over. But before Kathleen can pull the trigger, the truck that has crashed into the building suddenly falls through the ground. Then, a swarm of infected bursts out of the hole. It is a bloodbath in fire and automatic gunshots. As Ellie, Henry, and Sam run, dodging infected, Joel, like a sniper from the window, takes out an infected who tackles Ellie. Separated from Henry and Sam, Ellie climbs into a car through a small rear window, and Joel continues taking out the infected who attack the car. Just then, a monstrous infected climbs out of the hole in the ground. Seemingly impervious to bullets, nothing stops it. Perry tells Kathleen to run and not look back. She does, and the giant infected goes straight for Perry, ripping his head from his body. Back with Ellie in the car, Joel is unable to take out a small child infected. It climbs into the car with Ellie. She just barely escapes and sees Henry and Sam hiding under a nearby vehicle, being pawed at by two infected. With Joel providing overwatch, taking out all infected who get close to her, Ellie runs to Henry and Sam and kills the attacking infected with her knife. Henry and Sam climb out from under the car, join Ellie, and dash for the house that Joel is in, but Kathleen comes upon them. She orders them to stop, pistol aimed at Henry. But then, that same child infected who had attacked Ellie earlier leaps onto Kathleen. Seeing that Kathleen is lost, and now joined by Joel on the ground, the four of them leave the scene and run for the bridge.
All right, so we have a huge action piece right in here, and they do a good job of it. And we get to the point where Ellie and Henry and Sam are kind of pinned down. Joel's trying to help, but he's away with the hunting rifle that he's taken from the old man, which is kind of sad that this guy could have lived, but he's like, no, I'm going to try to shoot him, and I'm going to get myself killed. So that was kind of stubborn and stupid, but we can't expect that. So I do love the battle scene. It was appropriate. It wasn't gratuitous, like, okay, we're just going to have a lot of fighting here and break stuff and everything. So that was fine. And I did find myself in a position where, like, how the heck are they going to get themselves out of this? Okay, Joel, you better pull off some sort of miracle, because I don't see that you can do it. Henry's given himself up. You guys are all dead. Maybe Joel can sneak away afterwards, but I don't see how you guys live through this, right? But part of the scene is Joel shoots the driver of the plow truck, the snow plow, and it crashes. And here's the thing. I'm so used to in Hollywood, if a vehicle crashes, it bursts into fire. And I'm like, is it going to burn? Is it going to blow up and there's going to be fire and everything? And at first it didn't blow up. So I'm like, oh, good. They didn't go that route, but then like a few seconds later, it does blow up and in fire and everything.
They can't resist, man.
Right?
It's Hollywood. You gotta have flames everywhere.
And so
Plus, you gotta light the scene, right? We need a little lighting.
that's good. But what it does, it sets up the tunnel beneath the truck, opens up, and it spews forth the infected and the bloater. Oh my gosh, right? So I'm like, okay, I did not see that coming. I did not expect the typical Hollywood exploding vehicle and fire would release the zombies, and it did, and I loved it.
Is that what a bloater looks like in the game and what they do?
Yeah. I mean, in the game, they are able to like throw spores, but spores aren't a thing in the show. So,
Okay.
but yeah, they also in the game and also in the show, it seems like the bloaters can see. Like they act like they are able to see.
Okay.
But they also still have the fungus covering their face, so I don't actually know. But it looks like they can see, because there's one fighting scene where a bloater chases you around, and I'm like, well, can they see me? Or
I think, could we see its eyes in the show? I think
Nope.
we could.
I couldn't,
its face was covered just like a clicker.
Okay.
but it looked really cool.
It looked so cool.
It did look very big and vicious.
Right, it was. I like grabs Perry and just rips his head off. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's nasty.
So what is the function of a bloater in the game? Like, what is its purpose?
Well, you don't really face too many of them. I think you only face okay, so you face 2 in the early-ish game, and then you face 4 in the last sequence, but you can also skirt past those ones.
What do they do though? Like for the fungus?
Not a whole lot. I mean, they're basically just like other infected, I guess, but
Okay.
I have no clue.
Okay, because the one thing I wanted to note was it didn't try to eat anybody or seemingly infect anybody. It walked up and it tore Perry's head off. I think there was another shot where it basically slammed somebody else dead or something. I didn't see it though trying to infect. So I was like, this is a totally different class from clickers and from runners, because it's not trying to spread, it's just trying to kill. So I didn't know if there was like a lore behind why this one exists. Like, what is its function? Is it to provide food for the little ones? I mean, which is kind of animalistic, I think, instead of acting like a plant. But I don't know, it could kind of work. I could buy it.
No idea. There are also more evolutions of
Variants.
Okay.
of infected in the second game. So, but that's for season 2, which I kind of really want to get, but also it's gonna make me sad. But anyway, really quick, before the fighting in this scene starts, you have this this quiet moment where they're all walking in that neighborhood and they come across an abandoned ice cream truck.
Oh, I didn't even see it.
I didn't see it either.
Oh, well, it's not in the show.
Oh, okay. All right.
But then you get this conversation where Ellie's like, "What is this?" And then Sam says, "Oh, that's an ice cream truck. Henry told me about those. They used to drive around playing creepy music, or they used to drive around and give ice cream to kids." And Ellie's like, "There's no way that's true." And Joel's like, "No, it's true. It played really creepy music too." Like, she's like, "No way." And he's
Sounds
like,
like something
"Yeah,
I
it was a big hoot."
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That would have been hilarious. I wish
Yeah.
I had that in.
And is one of the things that I'm glad did not survive the apocalypse, because I think they're creepy too.
They need to like fix the speakers on those things, or change what kind of tunes they're putting out there. And the Doppler effect on any melody is pretty bad, so it's gonna make it sound like it's in a minor key all of a sudden, so it'll instantly turn happy music into creepy. But anyway, does anybody have anything to say? Because I don't have anything to say on the zombies, but I do have a lot to say about them walking up, and then also the confrontation between Henry and Kathleen.
Really quick, the child clicker, that was cool. I
Child
mean,
clicker
kind of
was
sad, but so cool. I loved her. Anyway, we can talk about that now. I just want to point that out.
The child clicker I thought was brilliant, especially that it is the child clicker that kills Kathleen in the end, when she had just said that children die
and they die all the time.
Yeah, and I was
What's
glad that
2 more?
I was glad that that in the podcast I saw that the writers intentionally had it like it has to be the kid one that gets her because of the comment she just said. I was like, oh, you're paying off. The writing is paying off.
Right?
Good job.
That's nice. Those are writers are paying attention to detail. So I do have something in here. So we have talked about protectors and how we see so many parallel mirroring of that theme. So we have, now I've forgotten his...
Henry and Sam? Joel and Ellie? Kathleen and Perry.
Perry is protector for Kathleen. Mm-hmm. And so what we see, mirroring, sometimes we see the same thing to reinforce a thought, and sometimes we see the opposite, which also reinforces the thought by showing the contrast. So we see a contrast to that protectorship. So Perry gives his life. He is noble in that fashion, gives his life for Kathleen, and she runs and she throws that opportunity away in order to get revenge.
Yeah.
So she could have lived. She could have lived. Run away and possibly lived, but
she
also
had her blinders on. Literally. Like she couldn't see anything.
So I love that they throw that reverse there, right? I mean, that's beautiful use of mirroring, and it really adds to the storyline.
So for me, I had a quick note about Henry and Sam again. Just like where they were in the tunnels, they're chatting away like, let's turn our flashlights on. I mean, you're not that far from the city. You don't want to draw attention. These are things that he should have known, and it bugged me that he was making a stupid suggestion here and that he was, teasing Joel for being an idiot, for, like, you're so dumb for not wanting to do this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just keep your mouth quiet. Like, you should know that this is a bad situation. I think Henry's a great character, but this was stupid right here.
Yeah, and in the background, over their shoulder, you can see the walls.
Yeah.
You can see how close they are. And if they had their flashlights on, absolutely they would be spotted immediately if there was anyone on those walls looking for trouble.
And my brother made me pause, and he goes, you know what? There is no reason why they should be walking in the street like the way that they are out in the open. An entire army is after them to kill them. He's like, you'd be darting from house to house. It wouldn't make that much difference in your pace. You could literally walk from house to house, but keep yourself self-sheltered, not walking through the middle of the street. And you would do that until you're 20 miles away because an entire army is after you. So why are you taking this risk right outside the gates?
Maybe because if you're closer to the houses, that's plenty of cover for potential infected to jump out and get you. So other zombie movies that happen. So like Dawn of the Dead, right? They're in the mall, and one of them gets attacked that way, right? They're like going past a coat rack or whatever, and one of the zombies jumps out from there, and they're able to survive. But it was a great moment in that movie, and that's why I would walk in the middle of the streets, because I think there's less of a chance of someone on that far wall seeing me in the dark than there is that I'm going to get ambushed by one of the infected.
If that's the case, I would have liked somebody to have said it. It would actually explain why they walk in the open in episode 2, I think it is, with Tess. That they're trying to stay out of these dark areas. But then it doesn't explain why when they go into dark areas, they immediately continue talking as loudly as they have been.
All right, I don't have an excuse for that part of it. So
okay.
Lucy, when you were playing the game, did you talk a lot while you were walking around?
I mean,
your character, not you.
They talked. They had conversations.
Because I can tell you, Lucy talked a lot when she was playing the game. No, don't do that. That's going to be dangerous. Stop. So
you can't resist. It's immersive.
Well, this game, I had watched it play through multiple times before I played it myself. So I knew everything that was going to happen. So
you were warning the character that you were piloting. Don't do this. Well, here we go.
Well, more like I don't have good hand-eye coordination, so I'm not good at playing games. So I would not play correctly, and then be like, Joel, you idiot. So.
Oh, nice. It's his fault.
It's all his fault.
It's all Joel's fault.
I like that. So the comment that I had about the conversation between Henry and, first of all, I had to mention this. My brother wanted to say, this is like Last of the Mohicans with Joel up in the tower shooting all the guys, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
Oh my gosh, we were like da 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 da. Like, oh, we wanted the heroic music, but it's okay. It was an intense scene. So
It was, and that is an amazing scene out of Last of the Mohicans.
Yes.
I'm not sure if any of you have seen that. It is a long movie. It's like, I think 3 hours. But that scene is so amazing. Yeah.
so good. Do not watch the director's cut with the added scenes because they've messed up the soundtrack. Although they did take out one really cheesy 90s song, which I'm glad they did that. But anyway, don't do that. Go ahead.
So just slightly different in the game, but also in the game you are able to control Joel and shoot through the hunting rifle up on top of the tower, and that's kind of cool.
Oh,
it's
that
a
is
little
cool.
slow to reload, but it's kind of cool. Anyway, but in there you go through the environment and take out a whole bunch of raiders, and then after you get through the raiders, a horde of infected comes through, and then you're picking off the infected and not the people as Joel.
Nice. It keeps it intense. The game is still on.
It's still, up in the tower taking somebody out to protect Ellie, but yeah, just
Nice.
slightly different.
Okay, so the encounter with Kathleen that Henry has, and this is kind of tying into what you were saying with the parallel mirroring and how it's, continuing this theme. One of the things that Kathleen says to Henry is, you think that this kid is worth everything? Like, he should have died. Kids died, but you think that this is worth everything? And I saw parallel mirroring here because in 2 ways. First of all, Kathleen sacrifices everything for her brother, but it's in a way worse way because she's so focused on revenge for her brother that she sacrifices the lives of hundreds of other people, or however many people are with her. Maybe it's not hundreds, but a lot of other people. She basically screws over the entire city because now their armed guys are dead. The infected are coming for Kansas City
now. And the infected are on the loose. Yeah, wow.
A bunch of
sacrificed,
infected.
She sacrificed everything for her brother, what she was accusing him of doing. So I was like, oh, this is good. They are doing a really good job with this. Every once in a while, there'll be something so brilliant in writing that makes you go, oh my gosh, I have to go back and watch that again. And this was one of those things I didn't pick up on until I'd watched it the second time. Because the first time you're going through, you're like, I totally see her logic. I see her logic. And then going through it the second time, I'm like, sacrifice everything. Wait, she does. She's saying that it's not worth it to sacrifice everything for your little brother, but that's exactly what she's going to do in like 5 minutes from now. So it was great. I liked that.
I did not see that, but at that moment, I did see a parallel mirroring with Joel.
Yeah, that
so
was my
she's
second
talking
point.
about.
No, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, so are you going to sacrifice everything for this one child? And for Joel, that is a yes, because she could represent being able to save humanity. So absolutely, right? And for us, we already know that, right? But for the character, that crystallizes in his mind because it's being said by someone else, right? They're not saying, Joel, you should sacrifice everything. He's able to observe someone else, and we can observe him looking at, because he definitely, good acting, looks over there, and you can tell that's what's going through his mind. Is like, yes, I have to sacrifice everything to make sure Ellie is able to save mankind. So, I mean, that's really beautiful. And again, show, don't tell, very nicely done.
I didn't notice that Joel had any expression at that point, but I definitely thought of Joel and Ellie, especially in my second viewing. I thought, is Joel going to have to decide that he doesn't want the whole world to be saved in order to save Ellie somehow? So that to me was like he's going to let the world die, but he's going to save Ellie. So now I've got like 3 possibilities of what might happen to them. Either for some reason they go off together into the sunset, and now this new one that he or like they don't. Either they end up staying at the laboratory together, or they don't go to the laboratory together for some reason and take off. Now we've got this new one where he will sacrifice all of humanity for Ellie in some way. And then the third one I had was that Joel will die to save Ellie. So I've got those 3. Those are my 3 predictions.
I would expect Joel to die to save
really
Ellie.
good
So
at
that
this.
is a.
You guys are writers.
let me throw in another scenario, which is an Adam and Eve scenario. So this thing could proceed. And I know that Ellie is still young. But if Ellie was able to go someplace safe with a young man, they could be the Adam and Eve of the future of mankind, because through her children, hopefully they would also be immune.
Oh, yeah. I like that. That's a really good one. That would be like if Joel does die, hopefully they've hooked up with some immune young man at some point, and then you think the two of them are going to go off, and eventually all humanity will be killed, and it'll just be them.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one. All right, we got 4 great theories going here. We're going to remember them going forward.
But Lucy didn't say I was really good at it, so I'm guessing mine is not going to happen. You didn't have to say no. Okay, mine's not going to happen.
I'm trying to not say anything.
Not to spoil.
Because I love to talk about this game. So I'm just putting as much effort as I can to not spoiling everything.
I appreciate that.
Later that night, the 4 have stopped in an abandoned motel. Joel and Henry talk, and Joel says that the kids will be okay because they don't have anyone else relying on them, and that's the hard part. He then invites Henry and Sam to accompany him and Ellie to Wyoming. Henry agrees eagerly. Alone in their own room, Ellie and Sam exchange handwritten notes on Sam's sketchpad. Sam asks Ellie if she is afraid of anything. Ellie reluctantly admits that she is afraid of ending up alone. Then Sam asks Ellie, if you turn into a monster, is it still you inside? Ellie realizes that Sam has been bitten. He shows her where, on his lower leg. Ellie assures him that her blood is medicine. She cuts her palm and presses the blood into the wound. Sam asks Ellie to stay awake with him, and Ellie promises she will. The next morning, Ellie awakes after having fallen asleep. She sees Sam sitting on the bed, but he has turned in the night and attacks her. As Ellie and Sam struggle, they burst into Joel and Henry's room. Ellie cries out for help from Joel. Joel leaps up to intervene, but Henry fires a warning shot at the ground in front of Joel's feet. Then he shoots his infected little brother dead. In horror at what he has done, Henry asks, "What did I do? What did I do?" Joel pleads with Henry to hand over the gun, but before anyone can stop him, Henry takes his own life. Later that morning, Joel buries Henry and Sam. Ellie leaves Sam's notepad on his grave with the words, "I'm sorry," written on it. Joel ponders this until Ellie, who has already started walking towards the west, calls to him, "Let's go." And the two of them begin their long journey on foot.
I had a lot about this part that I really liked. The main part was, so this is going to sound horrible. People are going to be like, "What's wrong with you, Amber? What's wrong with you and your family?" So I commandeer a member of my family to watch the show with me. And sometimes I get a couple of them or all of them. And my brother and I, when the little brother got infected, and this was actually something we had predicted when the infected came out of the ground. We were like, "Oh, I'll bet one of them's going to get it, or both of them, and then they're dead." And they weren't. We were like, "Oh, okay, nothing happened there." The little brother got infected. We went, "Yes!" Not because we were glad he was infected and was dying, but because the writing was great. Yeah. It was a great moment. Like, yes, he's infected. And then the fact that her blood didn't work, I was like, smart writing. It shouldn't just work that easily. And then when he came out of the room, attacking her, and then the brother shoots him, we both stood up and cheered like some famous football team had made a goal. Again, not because we were like, hooray, they're dead. But
there's something wrong with you and your family. I'm just going to say, I did not cheer at all.
No, we totally cheered.
I was not happy. I was not cheering.
We cheered because this was the most brilliant thing they could have possibly done. Oh, and then when he killed himself, we cheered there too. It was so good that they decided that Henry's going to kill him, like out of instinct, like I got to kill him. And then suddenly, in his shock, realize what he has done. And you see the moment of calm on his face as he's come to the conclusion that there's only one thing for me to do, and he takes himself out. This is really, really good. I absolutely loved it. And it wasn't that I'm like, hooray, they're dead. That's sad. It's a very good, sad ending. But I was thrilled to see such brilliant writing being done. It felt like I was watching a Game of Thrones episode. I felt like this is how these kinds of things happen.
And it parallels Bill and Frank, because basically, in a way, it's the same thing that happens. So yeah, I mean, the end, and you're also going to say, Randy, you are off. And I'm going to kind of go back. So we start with Sam writing, because he doesn't speak. If you turn into a monster, is it still you inside? Now that does two things. So one thing is letting us, it's that hint that maybe he's been affected, right? Right? But more than that, I think it's a real kind of a question, right? Maybe we see what a monster Kathleen has become, right? We see the demons that Henry harbors because he did what he had to do. He became a monster to save his brother. So for I think it's brilliant that that's a question all on its own that we can think. I mean, if you become a monster, are you still inside there, right? I mean, so that's, to me, that's brilliant writing, right? And then Ellie comes up with this whole idea, like if I put blood on your wound, it will save you, right? And then we have this tension. The night's gonna pass, and there's some real tension. Is that gonna work? Maybe, right? Because it's just crazy enough. Maybe it will work, right? We think Ellie has the cure for all of humanity. Could it be as simple as this? Don't know, right? And then obviously, like you said, Sam attacks her, and Henry kills Sam. And it's very, very sad. So I did not cheer. But I will say that sometimes it's good to have a sad ending to a show. I wouldn't recommend on a movie. But a lot of the classic storylines have very sad endings. And it gives you, because of that somber mood, it gives you really, you reflect more on the message of the story. So if you really want to leave a message, especially in a series, because you can recover from that later. You can do episodes where things are positive, but you have this one episode and it's very sad, right? And you're going to think about that. You're going to think about the whole thing. And you're going to think about how Henry's done all these horrible things. He's become a monster to save Sam. And then he has to kill Sam because Sam becomes a monster, right? So, I mean, very nice, right? There's a lot of connections there, and I'm failing to get a word for it. Very nice, all right? You see that, and very serendipitous, maybe. Is that? I'm not sure if that's going to be the right word. All right, so I mean that's really good, and then the music. I mean, so that's it. He kills himself, and we go to the music, and it is so, the tone is so appropriate for a very sad ending to an episode. So kudos. I mean, for me, huge kudos for not taking the easy way out. And a lot of times in American cinema, we want a happy ending, and sometimes that's just not. So if you see, I'm going to go back because I'm old. Ever seen Shane? Oh my gosh, that is such a tearjerker. And in it,
what is it again?
Shane.
Shane.
Yeah. So Shane leaves, and it's a Western. Shane leaves, and it's very sad. This young man, this young boy, is grown attached to him. And then Old Yeller dies at the end. So now don't go watch it because you'll know, right? I mean, so these are things, but these are classic movies that end with a sad ending, and they're very profound, and you'll remember them. They'll stick with you, maybe all your life, because they didn't take that cheesy kind of Disney way out of like, hey, everyone's happy, we're gonna have a party, let's sing and dance, and like we hoped they were gonna do with
Willow.
With Willow, we were hoping that would, and that didn't. No, we don't want your opinion. So get down.
We're almost done. You need to stay calm just a little bit longer.
All right, that's what I have.
Yeah, I gotta agree. It was brilliant. It was such good, and I hope people know that like I don't get attached to characters that I'm analyzing very well because I'm trying to look at them without an emotional attachment, which is the job of an editor, to make sure that they're not giving opinions on things that they feel, but things that they see as being a problem. And sometimes I'll say, I feel like this. And really what I'm saying is like, as a writer or an editor trying to imagine the typical readership audience, it's what do you feel? And so, yeah, anyway, but yeah, I was cheering at the brilliance of the good writing of this is how you should do tragedy. This is how you should make it just, it's going to really reach into people. And it clearly did for you guys. So well done. How about you?
So it's slightly different in the game. Not a whole lot different. Same thing happens essentially. But just the conversation between Henry and Ellie, or not Henry and Ellie, Sam and Ellie is a little bit different. And he doesn't tell her that he is infected.
Oh, okay.
So, but it didn't. Honestly, it didn't affect all that much.
Who's infected?
Sam.
Sam didn't tell her Ellie in the game. But then and you get this very nice scene, because in the game, Henry is very gruff. Like in this, he is like the protector still, but you can tell he's a little bit more like, not softer, but you can see I don't know, it's hard to explain. But in the game, he's more gruff and more tough and a lot more like Joel. So they don't actually bond at all throughout the thing. And at one point, Joel almost kills Henry because he abandons him. But then he's like, hey, I was saving Sam. You would do the same for Ellie. But that's not what I'm talking about right now. So you get this very nice scene where they finally bond, and they bond over Harley motorcycles.
Nice.
And
it's a good thing to bond
Joel's
over.
like, yeah, my brother wanted to do a cross-country thing one year for his birthday, and Henry's like, I would give anything to ride one around the block. And it's a very cute moment of them finally bonding. And then they wake up in the morning, and Sam's infected, and he attacks Ellie. And in the game, Joel reaches for the gun, and Sam says, hey, don't do that, don't do that. That's my brother right there. And then Joel says, screw it, and reaches for the gun anyway. And then before Joel can even pick the gun up, Henry shoots Sam. So it's slightly different, and you get, but, not a whole lot.
They did kind of a similar thing. So watching it in slow motion, because I had to watch it in slow motion while I'm getting clips ready for editing. Joel goes for, like, he's going to intervene. He doesn't really go for the gun, but he steps forward like he's going to intervene. And that is when Henry shoots at Joel's feet and, like, don't move. And Joel is like, we got to do something. And just as you think Joel is like, whatever, I'm just going to go, that is the moment that you see Henry change, where he's aiming the gun.
I didn't catch that.
It was very quick. Sometimes I wish that the editors would do things a little bit differently, just because on one viewing, you miss a lot of this stuff. And it does make it better for second viewing, but I didn't even really catch it in second viewing because I had to slow it down. And I didn't slow it down to see this. I had been watching the scene in slow motion and was like, oh, that's an interesting little moment there. I saw the whole, Joel was going to run, but it wasn't like that moment when he's about to go for the gun, or not go for the gun, but go for the second attempt to intervene, and that's when he shoots him. So anyway, but so they kind of did it, but it was really subtle. Like, you guys didn't catch it, and I think did you watch it once? Yeah. So yeah, but I guess it does make it rewatchable if it's so quick you can't catch it. So.
All right, and then I'm going to throw in that this is where my complaint, my only real complaint comes from, which I didn't know until Lucy during the video talks about Ish and the notes. So now if we had read those notes, we'd had a small scene where we understand that Ish had to kill the children rather than them be attacked by the infected, right?
I don't think Ish was in there, but I think it was the other protector.
Well, whatever.
The protector.
One of
that
the
kid
protectors
had
had
dropped
Whatever.
the
You're
kids.
following the notes of Ish, and you understand that someone had to kill the children because otherwise they would be attacked by him, right? That would make this scene with Henry, that would be foreshadowing. We would see that this guy had to go through the same terror of facing that reality, right? Of becoming a monster to do what needed to be done to protect the people that he loves in a way. And so I think that would have just changed for me. That would have made this a perfect episode.
Yeah, I think that would have been definitely good parallel mirroring again of similar, except, different people.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, on to ratings. Let's go with Lucy, you first. You haven't gone first at all yet, I think.
Me first. Back up to 9.5. Still really, really, really am loving this. And almost everything that they're doing, adaptation-wise, they're doing very well.
All right, I had the one problem, but otherwise I thought it was a perfect episode. there's always going to be some minor things, and I don't think you can ding a show for a couple little tiny things. So 9.5.
And I'm going to give it the same rating I gave the first one, and the episode 1, which was a 9. I felt like the writing did some really wonderful, clever things here that I absolutely adored. I did have a major problem still with Kathleen and also Henry's behavior in dangerous situations. So I'm dinging it for those, but I thought it was easily as enjoyable as episode 1. And yeah, so. Quick note, Randy and I have appeared on Geek Yo Hog's Hogcast. You'll see the link up there, right over Randy's head. Check it out if you want to see us discussing some of our favorite science fiction shows, mainly from the 90s, I think. 90s, early 2000s is where all of ours came from. But it's a real interesting podcast, so please go look at it. Other than that, we hope that you'll like and please do subscribe and comment. We definitely like getting comments, and we respond to just about all of them. So I guess that's it.
All right. Until next time.
Later.
Bye.
Later.